Very good morning, everyone. Charles here, Fergron's daily chart analysis. It's just approaching 6:15 local time here in Milan, Tuesday the 12th of May 2026. So we had two positions that were held overnight. That was EU and AU respectively, in line with the bias yesterday. Where were we 14 hours ago? We'll start with EU. So EU are looking to take a potential position from the session high. You can also see the best area absolutely refined within that 4-hour order block. 15-minute order block is very much so still available. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Based on the higher time frames as well, that will make absolute sense. We'll explain it just shortly. And also AUD US dollar, also looking at those session high elements, and most importantly that higher time frame weekly order block. That, to be fair, if you were to look through my analysis over the last couple of weeks, as price has just been in and around that weekly order block, definitely was looking for shorts. And something that I said to Fergron Mastery yesterday was the higher that we push into that higher time frame weekly order block, the more likely I am to take an aggressive short position. So that's pretty much what was done. If we just quickly head to the DXY as well, the thought process yesterday with DXY, a little bit disappointed to be honest. Was hoping that the DXY would push up into that 4-hour order block for a US dollar CAD short yesterday. However, as London opened, as New York was closing, it started to make those short moves, and London continued to short the DXY down to the lower areas where we're looking for that DXY strength to then come into the market, hence the cross pair short position. So nevertheless, where are we in terms of the here and now, and a bit of a breakdown in terms of my reasoning for looking for the short. So as you can see, yesterday morning around the same time, a little bit later, as you can see, price was up here. So as I was charting, I was trying to understand if the DXY would roll up into that 4-hour order block supported short by the 4-hour 50 MA, and immediate price action, of course, just a slight range going on there, slight trading range that we've got. I was looking to short US dollar CAD in line with that. So if we head to US dollar CAD to understand the thought process behind that, so US dollar CAD higher time frame in that daily order block supported short by that daily 50 EMA as well, and of course price action, in my opinion, although we are starting that bullish run for the start of the week, we have turned into that previous week key structure point. Of course, I'm looking for reaction from that area. No 4-hour order block to look to manipulate to the left. However, we've got that session high here. As you can see, price across the sessions was holding in that area. We're getting those little breaks of structure, so I was hoping that price would tap into that session high, previous weekly high, look for that lower time frame break of structure, and it would have been an aggressive short position based on the fact that if I look at the DXY, I had every reason to believe that the DXY would look to reject those areas, roll back down before looking for the higher time frame and longer term long position to come out of the DXY in line with my forecast, which has been the same for quite some time now. The reason behind that, you can see to the top right hand chart, you can see that weekly order block holding price beautifully above that area. Once you start to refine that weekly order block, and just to take a little step backwards, more often than not I don't look at the structure itself on the weekly time frame. More often than not, I'm just taking into the account the most recent previous weekly candles and how they're respecting that weekly 50 MA. But when it's gleamingly obvious, of course, we're looking to take that into consideration. So no lower low was created as a result of price tapping into this previous weekly order block. And in fact, from this area, in my opinion, we've broken structure. So after a higher high, of course, we're expecting that roll down to create that higher low for a potential higher high continuation. So that's the thought process longer term. When you start to refine those areas down, of course, we've got the daily time frame now, bottom right hand chart. You can see price within that daily order block is rejecting it to the high. So the order block most certainly doing its job. Therefore, I'm keeping that daily order block on the chart until we get a bearish candle either breaking it or we just start to move away. So that's the thought process, higher time frame. So when price comes into that area, I'm looking for formations, looking for breaks of structures, looking for how that lower time frame is acting in and around those key areas to gain that confluence for a potential US dollar CAD short, for good example, or an AU GU or an EU long position to come out of the market. So The initial thought process wasn't to be, however, as price starts to come up to these areas now, I'm probably going to have to look at closing my EU and AU shorts, because I do believe the DXY is the catalyst. And as we start to approach that 4-hour 50 MA, as you can see, price is respecting beautifully on the DXY. I believe that will hold more weight than the pair that I'm trading itself. So most certainly within this call, I'm going to have to, in fact, let me bring my alert slightly lower. Within this call, I'm definitely going to have to, or within this recording, I'm definitely going to have to close that position off. So nevertheless, as we start to refine those areas down, looking for a turnaround reaction point, lower time frames from our lower time frame points of interest that are already refined within those areas. So let's take a look at the cross pair positions that I took. As I said, no trade on US dollar CAD, unfortunately, but as we've seen, if price comes up to that area now, and we do get that confluence on the DXY, then I'm probably going to be looking to short the DXY if it hangs around in that area come London open. So I won't be looking to take any positions within Asia. So where are we here and now? So Euro US dollar short taken yesterday in line with the bias. So let's take a look what we posted a couple of hours ago. So 14 hours ago, as I've said, here we are, higher time frame short bias, lower time frame to align with higher time frame bias. So pretty straightforward there. Let's go to the chart itself so we can take a deeper look into that. So weekly order block holding price beautifully again below that area, therefore it remains on the chart. When we start to refine those areas down, just like on the DXY, I'm using I've traded the index before, it's not a problem, happy to do so, but I figured it's better to use the index as a leading confluence to understand when your cross pair is ready for, let's say, a long or a short move. I believe that's the better play, as opposing to just trading the DXY as a standalone, using the DXY as confluence, having a full understanding of it, marking the DXY as if I were to speculate on it in the immediacy. I think that is very handy as that confluence, as, let's be honest, the DXY is the real mover of the market, not so much the currency, the primary currency pair itself. So Euro US dollar coming out of those higher time frame order blocks. So of course I'm looking to short out of that area. My job was made pretty easy, to be fair, in having that directional bias, because when price is so close to the higher time frame order block in a certain direction, I'm not going to take a position into that order block unless I have enough range. And I didn't believe, based on the range here, that I was able to take a long position. So therefore my job was pretty easy yesterday in terms of looking for shorts only. And for sure, when I did have an opportunity to take a short, I absolutely did. So the reason for the short position, up at those highs, previous weekly highs, session highs as well. What you see by session highs is across the top. That's why I have the indicator. I mean, it's pretty straightforward anyway, but it certainly does make the chart look a little bit more prettier. Wick imbalance is what we're using first and foremost. Price came into that area last week, and of course we had the reaction from that, and you could describe those areas as breaking structures, to be quite honest, on the 15-minute time frame. And nothing too important, or not so much not important, but nothing in terms of confluence leading the way to actually take a short position on that 4-hour time frame. The only thing that I did have in favor is the fact I had room to the most restrictive EMA, which would be the 4-hour 50 MA. And as you can see on the 4-hour time frame to the bottom left-hand chart, price is respecting it beautifully. As a result of breaking above it, we've remained above, create that higher high, higher low, higher high, looking for that higher low, higher high continuation. We failed to do so, and as you can see, as a result of failing to do so, we've created a session high where prices continue to push into that area, but price is actually moving out of it, but not breaking above it. Therefore, once I do see a turnaround on those lower time frames, that's exactly what would entice me into taking a short position. Ordinarily, I wouldn't be using an order block that has been created as a result of a gap, but the overwhelming confluence was the fact it's a session high position. And I'll show you the candle itself that enticed me into taking the position as well as the DXY's confluence looking to go long. You can see here what's the absolute difference within that area. as we come into a point of interest before looking to take an immediate position, you have to understand your entry criteria. It's all well and good having a thought process, it's all well and good having a setup, but you need, in my opinion, an entry criteria that you can rely on. Now, I use variations of entry criteria: lower time frame break of structure, 15-minute engulfing candle for an imbalance. That could be an aggressive break of structure on the 1-minute time frame as well. All really do come from either a bearish 15-minute candle or a bearish engulfing 15-minute candle. A bearish engulfing 15-minute candle will most certainly lead you, or will leave you with a 15-minute order block that you can look to manipulate again, which is my higher and most preferred type of entry criteria. However, in this element here, in my opinion, this was just a bearish 15-minute candle. A bearish 15-minute candle will most certainly leave you with a 1-minute order block up at the highs. In this instance, it certainly would, and more often than not as well, can also lead you with a 5-minute order block, hence this position here. So we've had this 15-minute bearish candle closure. If I go down to the 5-minute time frame, you'll see refinement within that area. You can see a 5-minute order block right there up at the highs, where my sell limit, as a result of taking this as a very aggressive break of structure, and I took the sell limit from that 5-minute order block, and the rest was pretty much history. So that's EU at the moment, and if I just double check that to see what's going on, whether or not I need to be closing that sooner rather than later, let me just have a little think and a thought process while I'm on the video with you all. Okay, so there's a little bit more room to the upside, so I'll let that roll on for a little bit longer. We've got the allow on the DXY, so that's good enough. So back to EU to understand exactly the reasons why. Yeah, I think I've gone over that for you guys pretty comprehensively. So AUD US dollar also was looking at very similar looking shorts, to be honest, and you can see here also coming out, if you look to the top right hand corner, that's a weekly time frame, higher time frame weekly order block. And as I was saying in Further Up Mastery, in fact, the higher that price action pushes into that weekly order block, the more likely I am to be looking at taking an immediate short position post confirmation of some sort. So of course, on the daily time frame, you can see the price is most certainly pushing towards the upside. And you can see here quite clearly that my bullish structure will not be broken until this area is broken. However, it doesn't mean that I'll be looking for long positions. In fact, quite the opposite. Just like on EU, I cannot take a long position because we are now operating within that higher time frame weekly order block, where my thought process is very much so gauged towards shorting out of it. It wouldn't seem correct to actually take a long in a position where I am anticipating higher time frame to push price out. So when you start to refine those areas down, there's not too much to play with other than understanding that price is actually bullish on that daily time frame. There's no other confluence, in my opinion. The main confluence we're using is the DXY weekly order block to look high, to look towards the highs rather, and then of course here we've got that weekly order block on AU where price is looking to come short out of it. So finding the areas down, looking essentially reasons to short AU. We can see a previous 4-hour order block here mitigated yesterday, I do believe exactly yesterday, and that was the position, to be honest. So once I start to refine those areas down, the first thing I'm looking to understand is, do I have the range based on the 4-hour 50 EMA? Just amended that now. As you can see, there is a little bit of range coming up, but the most thing you have to understand is I can't get too sucked into my position or where I'd love price to go. I just have to understand where I believe price is likely to turn around. And in my opinion, it's the 4-hour 50 EMA. I use that quite heavily in my analysis. As you can see, price is coming into the 4-hour 50 EMA and looking to reject it back towards the upside. We haven't made any higher highs, hence why it's a session high position as well. But with the difference here, I believe we have more of a conclusive break of structure to actually push me to take that position. Like AU, I was a little bit more aggressive, but also here aggressive on like on EU, I most certainly was aggressive taking that short position, but here also aggressive. However, I believe with a little bit more reason. So price has come into an area, we've pushed short, we've come back into that 50-minute order block that was created as a result of this move, and as a result of price then coming out of that order block, we've then broken structure points to the left. So of course, let me grab that illustration for you guys. So up into this area, price of course printing higher highs and higher lows on that 15-minute time frame. We've come into break-even area, not so much this is a break of structure, but absolutely this is. Therefore, if price is going to return to that area at some point, it's my job to look for that confirmation before taking price short. And that's exactly what I've done. So if I bring this up slightly larger for you to have a better look, just like on the EU, you can see here that waiting for that confirmation, bearish candle closure. That's left me not only with a 15-minute order block, but more importantly, if I head to the 5, you can see there's a 5-minute order block as well. And then the question is, so Charles, why that 5-minute order block and not that 5-minute order block? Well, again, it's trader preference. To be quite honest, it's a position that I wanted to be in based on the higher time frame. And what I mean by that is sometimes you can analyze your charts, but not necessarily have full faith in the position that you do, that you're looking at. Now, without any expectation, if you go through my post, you'll see over a long period of time, I'm looking to take a short out of that area. So for me, when the opportunity arises, all I'm looking for is that confirmation based on setup, and I will be looking to take that position. So here again, you can see an area in the market where price is failing to break below. Again, in my journal, this is classed as an aggressive type of position as a result of the most recent higher low not being broken. I wasn't willing to wait for that yesterday, I must be very honest with you all. Therefore, as a result of an area in the market being broken, can I identify that there's an order block left behind? In my opinion, yes, I can. Break of structure, order block via 5-minute. Now, of course, looking to see if there's any other areas where I could have taken that or where I could have missed that position. Well, absolutely, I can see there's a 5-minute order block here. And of course, as I've mentioned to you guys earlier, when you do have that bearish 15-minute candle, or even if it's a bearish engulfing, even better, you will most certainly have a 1-minute order block available up at those highs as well. And again, so the reason why I didn't want to miss that is, in my opinion, well, if I'm going to take a position from here, what would be the difference in taking it from here? Of course, a little bit different in terms of risk to reward ratio. However, the first thing I'm understanding is, well, if I take it from this position, is my risk to reward ratio still worth the time and worth the risk? In my opinion, it absolutely was, because AUD USD, I'm looking for a maximum between 10 and 15 pips. Therefore, can I cover those highs with the amount that I require? I can. So therefore, there's not much really stopping me from taking that position. So as you can see, lower time frame break of structure, order block came in and then took the short pretty easily. I think as well with this, the confluence overwhelmingly on the DXY was looking beautiful as well. I'll head to the DXY to give you guys a little bit of insight about what I'm looking at. So let's go back to AU to have a look. We had that bearish engulfing candle, bearish couple of candles around about 1730, and then my entry was 1830. So if we go to the DXY at 1730, what do we have? So looking in and around these areas here, can understand again, just like on the cross pair, we had that hold up on price action. Here is the 1715 candle closed bullish above that area. So therefore, straight away, this is my confirmation. I then head to AUD USD at a very similar time to understand, well, what's going on. At 1715, we had also made that candle 1730, broken the structure point. So I've already got my confirmation on the DXY. So now it's all about entry criteria for me. And as I've shown you on that 5-minute time frame, 5-minute order block, 5-minute break of structure, and then we took that short position. So that's what we got at the moment. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of profit off the table, since it was an overnight hold anyway. It's a new day, and to be honest, based on the fact that the DXY is rolling towards that 4-hour 50 EMA, 4-hour order block, I believe that the trade has done pretty much what I have expected it to do. So we'll take a little bit of profits off there. Everything has already been managed towards break even anyway, and it's been quite a fruitful night, considering you go to sleep and you wake up and you see that you're in considerable amounts of profits on MT4 and MT5. I'm going to have to reduce that volume. There we go. Incorrect. Cool. I'll get it right, promise. Okie dokie. Across all. And there we go. And that's all she wrote, to be honest, team. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate the support across all the channels. Appreciate your questions as well. Love them all, both good and bad. And then, of course, while I'm here, as you can understand, pretty much the same analysis as yesterday, looking to see if price is going to come up into these areas, which I fully expect it to do before, well, we'll have to have a look. Potentially, we've got a couple of signs on that 4-hour time frame where price could actually look to break above that. However, the dominating factor is that 4-hour 50 MA. Look at how the previous 4-hour candle rejected that 4-hour 50 MA. We'll try to push up above it and close above it. So we'll just have to see what happens. We'll see if even if price then pushes and closes above that 4-hour 50 MA into that 4-hour order block, I'm still going to believe that there will be a slight rollback towards a 4-hour 50 MA. Probably look to hang around this area before any fundamentals start to come out of the market, and then we'll have to see longer term if we are looking to push towards the upside on the DXY. So that's all I've got for you guys at the moment, team. As always, thanks for joining me. Do appreciate it. All the very best in your trading journey. Do take care. Charles.